Prime Minister Narendra Modi's mega cabinet reshuffle, the first in his second term, will be announced today at 6 p.m. The new cabinet, sources in the BJP claim, will be the youngest ever in India's history. The average age will be lower ever after the revamp. There will be more women ministers and special representation will be given to those who have administrative experience. Average education will also be higher, is what we are being told, and most importantly, the changes are likely to factor in polls in 5 states next year and the 2024 elections. A list of the probables will be there on your screen right now. Let's quickly cut across live to Sukirti, joining us from outside JP Nadda's residence, where a lot of meetings took place yesterday. Sukirti, any early morning meeting as of this moment, or is this perhaps a little bit of lull before evening activity takes over?
Well, it would be the latter, Sanket, because we can show you Mr. Nadda's residence right now. There is no activity at this point of time. And yes, of course, yesterday it was the site for a lot of crucial meetings that took place, especially the one between Mr. JP Nadda as well as Mr. BL Santosh, the National General Secretary of the party. Also, Mr. Tawar Chand Gehlot was here to Mr. JP Nadda. So all of those meetings did take place yesterday, but as of now, no activity. And I remember, Sanket, you pointing out yesterday that the Modi government has been known to have a tendency to keep that element of surprise. And I think if from the morning, if people start arriving here, I think that is what is going to be an easy giveaway to the media, and that is something the government would surely want to prevent at this point of time, especially when they are trying to keep all the names under wraps, even though we do have a list of probables at this point of time.
All right, thanks very much, Sukirti, for that update. I would like to introduce our two guests as of this moment. We've got Tehseen Poonawala, is a political analyst who now joins us, as well as Ashwini Dubey is also a political analyst. Thank you very much to the two of you. Mr. Dubey as well as Mr. Poonawala, both of you are young. So let us first start by commenting on the fact that this is going to be a young cabinet. Mr. Dubey, what does the government exactly mean when they say young? Because, you know, one is a normal youth, as we understand it, and then there is political youth.
Thank you, Sanket Bhai, for having me here. Sanket Bhai, first I will tell you the constitutional process. The number of ministers should be up to the 15% of the total Lok Sabha MP. This is the constitutional process. Yeah. Second, so far as the cabinet reshuffle is concerned, that takes place keeping, it's a so-on process, analyzing changes in the portfolios of ministers, gives an insight in the political leadership of different ministries of the government of India. Third, since our country is young, Prime Minister has a vision, the vision to reform India, and that's why he wants to bring into the domain, public domain, and we want to give the charge to the young MPs who can do more for the betterment of the society with lots of zeal and gist. This is what the vision of this Prime Minister.
Okay, but Mr. Dubey, there is another problem. You know, there are two political pain points. One is who's the real LJP. So if Mr. Paras, who I don't know whether he fits into your definition of youth or not, but if Mr. Paras is going to be recognized as LJP, then there is a problem. And then there is still confusion over how much should JDU get. So do you think that these are unsettled issues as we go into a cabinet reshuffle?
Sanket Bhai, so far as the first question, answer to first question, it is an interstate dispute. So interstate dispute can be decided by the party members who will sit together, them, and they will decide it. And if it goes to the election commission, then final call will be taken by the election commission, as happened in Akhilesh Yadav and Shivpal Yadav's case. Now coming to the second question, second answer, Sanket Bhai. If we talk about the second answer, then the JDU has been a pioneer aligned partner with the government of this NDA government, not from today, from Vajpayee's regime. And they have worked together for the betterment of the society as well as the country. So I don't think that the JDU is not the part of this country. JDU is also very much part of the country. And reshuffle is the continuing process. Remember 2019 when A. Raja resigned, Kapil Sibal took the charge. And Indira Gandhi, at the regime of Indira Gandhi, that time also, even in NDA 1, in UPA 1, there has been a continuing process. So reshuffle is a parliamentary process which keeps and goes on.
Okay.
Yeah, over to you.
Tehseen Poonawala, how do you analyze this reshuffle? First of all, a comment on youth, being, you know, a youth icon yourself. I want to know from you, what do you think about this message of this being the youngest cabinet ever?
Sanket, at the onset, whatever the cabinet reshuffle happens, that's the prerogative of the Prime Minister. Wish the Prime Minister and his new colleagues, cabinet colleagues, all the best, though I'm politically opposed to the Prime Minister. And I hope that they can spend their time in the service of India, our constitution, and our peoples, because our people really need this. I've heard that they have a Ministry of Cooperation. I don't know what that is, but I do hope they have a Ministry of Common Sense and a Ministry of Empathy. A Ministry of Common Sense that they leave behind regressive thoughts and go ahead to take India on the path of progress, which it slipped down to. Remember, we were an economy growing at 10%, we're now at minus 7.3%. And a Ministry of Empathy that when we had the greatest human tragedy since 1947, everybody was snoozing. I hope we have some amount of empathy now to understand that these are our people and the government must be in the service of our people. If they can follow Mahatma Gandhi's advice to wipe every tear from every eye, I think they would have done a good job.
Okay, but then what do you think about the list of probables and also this whole unsettled Bihar matrix? You know, I also wanted to ask one more question to both of you very quickly. The Prime Minister as well as the government goes on to say that they do not give in to compulsions like, you know, typical political compulsions like representation of a particular caste or trying to woo a particular community. But if you note, from the list of probables, it seems that specific people have been brought in for a specific reason, from a specific caste, from a specific region. Tehseen first.
Absolutely. There is nothing that the Honorable Prime Minister does that is not calculated, including the time he comes on air and the date he comes on air. Everything is a calculation of the Honorable Prime Minister. Some to do with voodoo science, some to do with caste and combination that he's involved with. In fact, the Prime Minister kept pronouncing himself as an OBC Prime Minister when, and made sure that people knew about it. So let's be very clear that the Prime Minister is not shy of that politics. But one more thing, I am very curious to see if Jyotiraditya gets a ministry and if Narayan Rane gets a ministry. For me, as a Congress ideologue, that is interesting because if they accommodate Jyotiraditya, Narayan Rane and Himanta has now become Chief Minister, it is a definite message being sent to people in the Congress that you are welcome in the BJP and we are going to reward you. It also shows the lack of talent in the Bharatiya Janata Party. I mean, that comes from the top.
Mr. Dubey, would you like to respond that any person who comes from outside will be respected and awarded for lack of talent within? That's the analysis of Mr. Poonawala.
Sanket Bhai, first comment is that this reshuffle is taking place for making better, developed and progressive India and taking young, eligible and talented ministers into the cabinet. One. And so far as the constitution does not put an embargo, or the constitution of the party does not put an embargo from coming into this joining the Bharatiya Janata Party from any other party.
I mean, Congress has also inducted a lot of people from outside.
I would like to respond to my brother, Mr. Tehseen Pulawala's query. See, this Ministry of Cooperation has been introduced or being created in order to make the prosperity from cooperation taking into public in confidence. One. And the Sahkar se Samriddhi, this has been the vision of this government, and I think that government is doing the right place and in the middle because there are no elections, so elections cannot take it does UP election.
It will be interesting to see who all will be the others who will join in apart from the probables. I would like to thank you two youthful gentlemen for a discussion on what is likely to be the youngest cabinet. Thank you very much. We're stopping for a short break at this moment. We'll be back with a lot more news and updates. Stay with us.